Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Connor Corey here, off script. Today we're going to be doing a review slash movie discussion for a couple of Marvel movies. Black Widow came out a long time ago, obviously, so I would hope that everybody has had a chance to see it. We had some audio issues in the original recording we did, like the week after we saw it, so we're just re-recording it, getting it out better late than never, as they say. So before we get into that, as always, if you're enjoying the content on the channel, please subscribe to us, smash the like button on this video, turn on notifications so you don't miss the uploads, and then leave your comments down below. We always like to hear from you guys, especially what you thought of this movie. Corey and I, in the last discussion I had, we had about it in that video, I think we came to the consensus that it was a decent movie. I think I said probably A-. I don't know what like letter grade you ended up giving it. I think I decided on like A-, probably B+, A-.
Yeah, I was in the same area too. I think mine faltered back on because I wanted it to be released earlier. Like I feel like it just would have been better if it was released earlier. But the movie was good regardless. It just kind of sucks that like this is her last movie and this is her first solo movie. So that's kind of why it went down for me. Maybe not the movie itself, but I guess the production thing behind it, and COVID kind of screwed it and everything.
Yeah, it really lost a lot of its steam coming out of like all the hype from Endgame. Like if it would have came out when it was supposed to, you still would have been riding pretty high from Endgame. All that hype kind of died down a little bit. On the other hand, I think I would have liked it to come out at the same time. But the other hand, on the other side of things, I can kind of make the point of like, well, it was kind of nice to have like a little bit of a break. Because there for a while it was 3 or 4 movies every year, and it's just it felt a little oversaturated, and I feel like Endgame was such like a just nice like punctuation to that whole storyline. Like just leave it alone for a little bit, like let it simmer, and then launch back into it with a brand new like slate, whole new characters that are coming out with their own movies, kind of not like starting over, not like rebooting anything, but just kind of starting fresh. Like people, absence makes the heart grow fonder. So, and I enjoyed seeing a Marvel movie back in theaters again. And then Black Widow is a returning beloved character after she had her time to shine in Endgame and really kind of show us a different side of her. I think this movie expanded on that in a really good way. I think as with most Marvel movies, the humor was on point. I don't think that's ever been a problem with a Marvel movie. They've always done the humor really well and the action really well. It's usually the storyline or the character stuff that can make or break the movie, in my opinion.
Right. And that's what I was worried about, too, because from what I heard going into it and then what I saw, David Harbour, I can't remember what the guy's name is, the character that he plays, I can't remember. But anyway, her father figure.
Yeah, Alexei.
Yeah. Even he was like comedic, but like not. At least some people, I guess, have a different opinion on this than me. But I thought it was perfectly well done. Like nothing, it wasn't too in my face comedy. It was the correct amount of like kind of like the dad humor comedy, on top of like because it's weird because it's not really dad. It's not really her father because there is kind of like a sense of some kind of love there, but at the same time they're working together essentially, and all that kind of just meshed really well. I thought that was hilarious with everything. But I really liked him in this movie. I think that's a good thing, a good superhero movie to come off of since the last one he did, I guess, if you want to call it a superhero movie, was Hellboy, which was pretty critically shit on. This was, I think, a good breakout for him.
Yeah, I thought the character development and the work that these actors did for these characters in this movie was really good. I think he was obviously a standout. We already know ScarJo has been Black Widow for 10 years? Now going on 10.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, it's over now, but she, the better part of 9 or 10 years she played that character. And then Florence Pugh was Yelena Belova, also a breakout. I think she was probably my favorite character out of that movie. Even though it's Black Widow's movie, like she was just such a good like mix of also a badass fighter like Black Widow, but a good mix of humor in there as well. And then the mom, I thought, was also a really good dynamic because she was like the scientist, so she was like the brains. She could also fight too because she was a black, trained widow. But I think it was funny the dynamic of her being like she's the smart scientist, and Alexei is just like this dumb Russian super soldier. Like they still really cared about each other, and I thought the family dynamic just worked for some reason. So it was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I even liked the mom too. Even though probably she was the most, if out of everybody, she's probably the most forgettable one out of every one of them.
She wasn't in it very much. She was a good chunk of the middle of the movie. She was out of it, and then they got back in at the end. So like third.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, a little bit that she was in. She did fine enough for what they gave her. It was clearly Black Widow and her sister. It's one of those things too where it's like. The Solo, so for instance, like the movie Solo that came out, that Star Wars spinoff, right? One thing about that movie that bugged the shit out of me and many others, it just felt like fan service. Like every scene was here's how he got his blaster, here's how he got his boots, here's how he got his lucky dice. And this movie did something like that, but it wasn't annoying and in your face. It's kind of Black Widow's vest. That nobody ever talks about in Infinity War. No one talks about that shit.
Yeah.
But she gets, a vest from it, and like, there's no there's no spoiler for any of that. But it's something like that where you can do those kind of fan service things, because even though this movie is coming out after, unfortunately, her death in Infinity War or Endgame, sorry, you have to somehow give a likable kind of presence to not only her but everybody else around her, her sister, and everybody. And I think that was a good way to merge them in there too.
Yeah. Couple of other interesting people in this movie, I think. Taskmaster was really cool. I think sometimes it just depends on, I think, who directs the movie or maybe what characters are involved. I don't think there was enough Taskmaster in this movie. Doing enough Taskmaster things. I think the first time when they showed up on the bridge to fight Black Widow, that was a really cool scene.
Yeah,
and then the street chase through Moscow was also really, really well done. The last act, though, where they were, in the main like crescendo fight, I feel like Taskmaster kind of just got like
a backseat.
I guess I should say didn't get shown enough, but that was kind of just because of the plot. That's there wasn't much for them to do right there at the very end. It was just kind of like, oh, we have to do this fight, but like things are coming to an end, so we gotta be quick about it. And then with the character development stuff too, it didn't turn into much of a fight at the end after all anyway. So
right, and Taskmaster was, and for me, I like Taskmaster. I like the story they did. They did something different in the comics. It didn't bug me as much as it did some people. It bums me out that I may not get that Taskmaster story ever unless they do some kind of multiverse thing. But regardless, I still like Taskmaster. I do think that they tried to, unfortunately, where it falters for Taskmaster is they tried to Winter Soldier Taskmaster, essentially, where that's not essentially the main threat to the movie. They're just kind of there as a hurdle that's in the way of the actual main threat.
Yeah, and it's not really their fault, or they're not doing it because they want to, sort of thing.
All right. So it's just kind of one of those things where it was done better in Winter Soldier. Could have been done a little bit better here if Taskmaster was utilized well. But as much, I still like Taskmaster. I think the fight scenes with Taskmaster was cool. I think the fight scenes, again, I know I shit all over the Captain Marvel movie about, female-led Marvel movie. But this is how you do it right. This is a female-led Marvel movie. Still great fight scenes, memorable ones, because there's not a single one I remember from Captain Marvel. There's still great character development in this. I don't actually hate the freaking character, whether it's an established character or not. Even the new characters come in here, I love them. Taskmaster was cool, a great villain. I didn't really know who the villain was in Black Widow. I think it was, or not Black Widow, and Captain Marvel, Jude Law. But I don't really even know what the character. I don't even know what the character was there.
Yeah, he was just some Kree guy, like some Kree soldier. That's a great point. I think it has a lot to do too with like. They are normal. I shouldn't say normal, but they don't have superpowers or abilities. They're just excellently trained assassins and fighters, and there's a whole army of them too, which is also terrifying.
Right.
And Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, it tends to be like the best of the best sort of thing. I think is what they try to get at. Like, she was the only one that actually like escaped and made it out. And then she goes back and ultimately ends up saving the rest of them. It's you appreciate the character more, I think, whenever they're just not like Supermaning their way through every fight, like just walking up to a machine gun and just like bullets bouncing off of them, sort of thing. Like they eventually just lose the character themselves, loses sight of like their humanity because they're just indestructible, invincible. So they're not gonna like value the fighting skills as much. Like even if they know how to fight, they're not going to. They're just gonna like fly through people or just shove them out of the way, like with their super strength, you know. But actually having hand-to-hand training and martial arts skills is so much more impressive to me in these movies than someone who is just flying around. Or I think that's why I liked Captain America so much, because they made him, obviously he's a super soldier, so he's very strong and fast and agile, but he learned all these different fighting styles and actually did martial arts. He just had enhancements on top of that. That's why I appreciated him. Whereas you get somebody like, I would say maybe a good comparison would be for the thing that I'm talking about is maybe somebody like Thor, who's just incredibly powerful and has some, it's like a fighting form a little bit, but it's more like brutish, like just knocking people out of the way and that sort of thing. That's kind of more of a boring sort of fight to me than when you get the martial arts and hand-to-hand combat stuff. So,
and which is excellent for our next topic too. The next movie that we talk about too is that's one of the things I think that helped that movie drastically too.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think we'll end off by saying I think Black Widow was a very good movie. I think it suffered from the long wait, unfortunately, due to the pandemic. The hype for it died down quite a bit. I still think it ended up pretty good, though. I still stand by I think I'll give it an A-. Because it was different than a lot of other Marvel movies, too. Like you just said, the next one we're going to be talking about, same thing. It gets set apart just because of that martial arts and hand-to-hand combat dynamic, and it just makes it for such a different movie than what you've gotten in the past from Marvel. And I think that's why I think it bumps it up a letter grade almost. Like the story was like meh, but the fight scenes made it, go up.
Yeah,
for Black Widow for me. So we'll leave it off there. A- for me. What would you give it?
I think I'm saying with an A- too. I'm definitely buying it when it comes out. I'll add it. The only one I haven't bought again is Captain Marvel. It's a bummer, man. But I'll definitely be buying that one day one. I think it's still good enough to watch again. I don't think it's a one and done kind of movie.
Yep, for sure. All right, well, tell us what you guys thought of it. Sorry if there were any spoilers, but it's been like, 3 or 4 months now, so if you haven't seen it, that's on you. I mean...
Get the hell out there,
Right. So, especially after what she went through with Disney and the big falling out they had, definitely buy the movie and hopefully she gets some more pay and royalties from that, hopefully. So
yeah, that's some bullshit.
Yeah, it is unfortunate bullshit. Yes. All right, well, that's probably like the worst thing you could have done when we're talking about a female empowerment movie.
All right.
Okay.
Next.
You know how that makes me peel.
Okay. We're done.
Yep. See.